is Africa, the last remaining area in the world where there are still vast tracts of undeveloped land, inhabited only by the wild game that has roamed Africa since time immemorial. It is a land of contrast, sun-scorched and arid in the dry season, merciless and mysterious. Human and animal alike have to dig for water, precious, cool, life-giving water that lies hidden beneath the sand. The coming of the rains, though, brings new life to the country, and the once dry riverbeds turn almost overnight into swiftly flowing rivers. Now the vast herds of hippo are once more enjoying the freedom of their natural element, snorting and blowing, curious at the intruder. Crocodiles leave their dry season hideouts and return to the muddy waters in everlasting search of food. A lone bull elephant ambles down to the river, looking forward to his daily bath, perhaps too just a little angry with the human invader. Vast herds of buffalo graze undisturbed on the succulent riverine grass, confident, almost arrogant in their knowledge of their recognition as the most dangerous animal in all Africa. Giraffe, quietly browsing, unconcerned, and so very graceful in their almost slow-motion action. This, then, is the Africa we all know. Wide, unexplored, open spaces, adventure, and the big game. But there is another side to Africa, a side of which we know and hear little. There are problems created by the fast increasing African population and their consequent hunger for new land and new pastures. A hunger for land that must be satisfied, and is being satisfied by the creation of enormous grazing schemes to relieve the overstocked African land. At great expense, the Kenya government has cleared huge areas of bush and scrub to open up luscious new grazing grounds for the African people and for their cattle. But all too often, the big game unwittingly destroys the crops that these new African settlers have planted and spreads disease among the cattle. And so, the big game must make room for advance and development. In the case of the elephant, this presents no problem, for he is nomadic by nature. Thus it is easy to control and move the vast herds. The same applies to almost all other big game. As soon as man moves in, they move out. The one exception is the rhino. The rhino is an individualist and moves only if extreme drought forces him. To try and preserve the lives of these wonderful animals, the Kenya Game Department reasoned, if you can move humans and resettle them, why not rhinos? It sounds easy when you say it quickly, but there's more to it, much more than just moving them. You've got to get them first. And so, our story moves to a small camp, miles out in the blue. This is the base camp of Ken Randal and Pat O'Connell, two trappers who have undertaken the tremendous operation of catching and moving 300 to 400 rhinos. And tremendous it is. The camp is a hive of activity. Crates have to be built in which to transport the animals. Transport has to be checked and rechecked, for once they're out in the bush, sudden engine failure could cause an accident and disaster. Thorn trees have to be cut, thousands of them, to build the holding pens for the animals. They're sunk deep into the ground, wired securely, so that no angry charging rhino can break them. From dawn till dusk, the work continues, never-ending and seemingly backbreaking. Whilst the trappers are busy erecting their camp, the trackers are out, looking for rhino. There, a big bull rhino quietly browsing in the afternoon shade, half asleep, unaware of the human intruder. Softly Guru the tracker retraces his step and sends word back to camp by one of the many runners, "Tell the Bwana, a big bull." Within minutes, the trappers and their helpers are away. Ken Randal takes the wheel. On him depends the safety of the whole crew. He's the skipper, you might say. For one false move on his part, or one wrong split-second decision about which way to turn, or what chance to take with his truck, can easily end in a fatal accident. Pat is the catcher. He has to rope the rhino from the fast-moving truck. Whatever happens, his job is to secure the animal at all costs. The noise of the truck has disturbed another rhino, and they decide to give chase. Look out, Ken, he's charging. 1.5 tons of furious rhino charging a truck exactly half its weight. Desperately, Pat tries to get the rope over his head, but before he has the chance, the rhino decides he's had enough, and he's off. In those few seconds of ferocious attack, his deadly horn has cost the trappers 50 pounds in tires. Repairs are quickly done, and soon they're back in action again, hard on the trail, looking for the tracker and the rhino he found. There, beautifully camouflaged by his surroundings, is the rhino. He turns and charges, again and again. Pat got a rope on, but it breaks, and the rhino disappears into the thick bush. Look for it, yells Ken. Don't lose that one. There, Bwana. There he is. This time they get the rope off. Viciously the rhino tries to gore the truck, again and again, twisting and turning, but the ropes hold. undignified position to be in. Trussed like a chicken, manhandled, pushed around like a sack of potatoes. But the trappers know what they're doing. Carefully they roll him onto a loading platform, which in turn is winched by a series of pulleys onto the lorry. Never mind, old fella, it's for your own good, and sometimes you have to be just a little cruel to be kind. Loaded safely, almost gently, his creature comforts not forgotten, for there's a sack of grass under his head, the Rhino begins his journey to camp and the holding pens. Some more undignified manhandling, some more shoving and pushing, and then the most dangerous moment of the whole operation, taking off the ropes. By now, the Rhino is pretty mad at the insults that have been forced upon him. One toss from that horn and someone could be badly gored. Carefully, gently, Ken takes the last ropes off himself, and the Rhino's free again. For the time being, he's enclosed, but he'll soon settle down and be ready for the long trip to freedom. With one in the bag and 399 more to go, back into the bush go the trappers, constantly searching. A stroke of luck, a cow and a half-grown bull. Going after them requires some really good driving. The idea is to separate mother and youngster, and to go for the young'un first. For if they catch the mother first, the youngster would run away and would probably be killed by other animals. Ken tries to get between the two of them. Now he's between them. There's the young'un. And here, not far away, the mother. Faster and faster the chase continues. Then suddenly the rope goes over and they've got it. The struggle is short. The bull puts up a pretty stout fight, but against so many ropes and so many people, he's fighting a losing battle. Suddenly the mother appears. Will she charge? Ken spots her out of the corner of his eye. Come on, get a move on. Here's the mother. She attempts a half-hearted charge, but the noise is too much for her, and she turns and runs. But the trappers will be back for her later. Everybody heave. Come on, lift him gently. And then, with the Rhino's head resting on Ken's foam rubber seat, back they go to camp. And so the catching continues. Day after day the truck goes out. Not always successful, but gradually the stockade is filled. Never-ending lorry loads of bush have to be carried to feed the rhino. They tame down very quickly and consume enormous quantities of food, about half a truckful each per day. It is, in fact, quite amazing how tame they do get. Only a few weeks ago, they would have charged on sight. Now, they eat out of your hand. The natives called this little chap Pili Pili, the native name for Pepper. And peppery he certainly was. You saw the fight he put up when he was captured. One thing every rhino loves is a mud bath. They roll in the mud for hours on end. So this temporary rest camp provides even that, for the well-being of the animals is always the first consideration. This shows what love can do. After 4 weeks of captivity, here's Pili Pili and his friends with whom he shares a love and affection seldom seen anywhere. Needless to say, Ken and Pat spoil him. Who ever heard of a rhino at a tea party? But there it is. Soon they are enticed to go into the traveling crates, specially built for them. And then comes the day when they go in and are ready to be transported to their new homes some 500 miles away. And so the journey begins. This is Delamere Avenue in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. But to the people in the streets, it's just another lorry passing through. The journey continues right into the northern frontier of Kenya. At the border, the book is signed. The district commissioner will probably think it's some kind of a joke when he reads the daily record in the book. Driver of lorry, Ken Randal, and Pat O'Connell. Passengers, 8 Africans, and 1 rhino. Still, it's the truth, even though it may be stranger than fiction. At last, the lorry and its precious cargo are at the release point. A ramp has to be dug so that the lorry can back into it and the rhino can walk straight onto firm ground. crate door is opened and the rhino steps out, quite unconcerned and apparently almost reluctant to leave his comfortable crate. Well, here's a problem. He doesn't want to go. Start the Land Rover, Ken shouts. That'll make him move. It certainly did. What a wonderful sight, the hunted chasing the hunter. But it really is farewell to their friend. His home is in the bush. His life must be lived as his forebears have lived for countless centuries, as a wild animal in the wilds of Africa.